Could the age of the Cheops Pyramid of Giza be 237,000 years old? Many of you have probably read the version that in the sizes and proportions of the Cheops Pyramid, certain parameters of the Earth and secret knowledge of ancient civilizations are encrypted 2 or 3 centuries ago, including, for example, Isaac Newton, and many scientists of the 19th and 20th centuries still try to decipher all these secrets. In particular, many have tried to determine the length, etc., the sacred cubit, the pyramidal cubit, measures of length of the architects and builders of the pyramid, which supposedly was also the key to many of its secrets. So on the internet you can find publications of modern popularizers which assert in particular that the number obtained from dividing the length of the base of the Cheops pyramid by the length of its pyramidal cubit is very close to the average duration of the modern tropical year. An interesting way of dating the age of the pyramid? The essence of this method is as follows. If the architects of the pyramid really encrypted in its proportions the duration of their year, then given the slowing down of the Earth's rotation, the age of the pyramid can be calculated. For example, if the length of the year at the time of the construction of the pyramid was 0.01 days less than in our time, then knowing the rate of deceleration of the Earth's rotation, 1.8 milliseconds per 100 years, you can calculate when it was. But don't rush to the conclusions. There are pitfalls, which, by the way, were not taken into account by this theory. The Earth not only slows down its rotation, but also increases its size. At one point, it was almost as small as the moon. Now, over time, according to F.B. Blinov, The Growing Earth from Planets to Stars, he says over time, the radius of the globe, surface area, and mass increase, and the larger the Earth becomes, the faster it grows. Empirically, according to various sources, an exponential law of the increase of the radius of the globe with time has been established. Currently, the Earth's growth rate is at its maximum, and the Earth's radius is increasing by at least 2 centimeters per year. It's also possible that tens or hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Earth's radius increased faster than in our time and could change even faster during the years of planetary catastrophes, like about what happened 10,800 years ago, BC. Riddles of the pyramidal elbow, Isaac Newton and Keshi Ra. But this means that the mysterious pyramidal elbow, quote unquote, during the construction of the pyramid, if it was 1/10,000,000th part of the Earth's radius, as many of its researchers believe, it was not from the current radius, but from the one that was many millennia or even tens of millennia ago during the construction of the pyramid. Some scientists understood this even in the 19th century. Thus, the well-known historian and educator James Bonwick, 1811 to 1906, wrote in 1877 in his book, Isaac Newton wrote a work in Latin entitled The Sacred Elbow of the Jews and the Elbows of Some People, in which, according to the measurements of the greatest Egyptian pyramid made by Mr. John Greaves, the ancient elbow of Memphis is established, where in particular he noted that the ancient elbow before the elbow length of 0.5 meter apparently was preceded by another longer length, which could be about 63.5 centimeters. And then James Bonwick writes about the book of American scientific educator John Taylor, quote, The Great Pyramid, who was it built and who was it built by and what for what purpose, end quote, published in 1856. In particular, Mr. Taylor confuses us with his assertion that the length of the pyramidal elbow before the flood was 63.25 centimeters, that's 24.9 inches, and after this catastrophe it began to be equal to 25 inches at 63.5 centimeters. And both the elbow, according to Mr. Taylor, were sent over. Mr. Taylor suggested that the flood had on the world of such a devastating effect, although geologists could not find at least one tangible evidence that a flood at all took place, that the diameter of the Earth has become smaller by almost 59.55 kilometers in comparison with the antediluvian. Are there ancient Egyptian depictions of people with this mysterious pyramidal elbow? In addition to the chief priest of Heliopolis, the legendary Imhotep, another name associated with the construction or the repair of the pyramids under Cheops, perhaps less well known but no less great. Keshi-Ra, the chief of doctors, the priest of Horus, the chief architect of the pharaoh, the supreme chief of the Ten of the South. This is not a complete list of his regalia, known from the studies of his personal tomb, which has been preserved. Keshi-Ra is considered by some the main designer of the Great Pyramids, or we add the chief engineer for repair and restoration. Keshi-Ra knew the secrets of proportions, golden sections, according to which the pyramids were built. And the images on the panels board of Keshi-Ra represent a whole spectrum, a developed canon of golden sections, various measurements that were used in the construction and restoration of the pyramids, and these measures were associated not only with the golden sections, they also encrypted many of the knowledge of the priests of Upper and Lower Egypt. But what was the length of the pyramidal elbow during the construction of the pyramids? So a vicious circle. To calculate the length of the year of the construction time, encoded in the length of the pyramidal base, you need to know the length of the pyramidal cubit, but this the data itself may depend on when the pyramid was erected. So let's take the bull by the horns, and let's proceed from the fact that the pyramidal elbow is a measure of length had to fit an integer number of times, at least one, most likely in the supporting base of the pyramid. In addition, most likely its length did not differ much from that which is accepted by many Egyptologists since the 19th century, and still in the book of James Bonwick, several more names are listed except for Taylor. In general, the measure of length cubit in that century had not yet been forgotten in Europe. For example, in the physics book of 1831, the Wikipedia article, if you see elbow, the length of the cubit are given in more than 10 cities in Western Europe, and most of these cubits has a length of 59 to 69 centimeters. So we are looking for a pyramidal elbow about 63 centimeters long, which fits an integer number of times into one of the four sides of the base of the pyramid, according to Wikipedia article Pyramid of Cheops. Their length is as follows: north 230.253 meters, south 230.454 meters, west 230.357 meters, east 230.394 meters. Note here also that the length of the lateral rib, initially 230.33 meters according to calculations, according to Wikipedia article Pyramid of Cheops. It's logical to take the north side as the support one, and we will easily find that the 0.6308 meter long pyramidal elbow fits along the length of the northern base exactly 365 times. A good start to storm this puzzle. The next most important side of the pyramid is the eastern one, if only because the sun and Sirius rise there, announcing the flood of the Nile. Then the average length of the year during the construction of the pyramid equals 230.394 divided by 0.63083 equals to 365.2235943. What is the length of the tropical year in our century? In Wikipedia, the article Tropical Year, we can see the following data for the year 2000. Between two March equinoxes, 365.242374 days. Between two June solstices, 365.241626 days. Between two September equinoxes, 365.242018 days. Between two December solstices, 365.242740 days. As you know, in ancient Egypt, the new year began in the summer with the flooding of the Nile. Therefore, we must take the number in the second line between the two June solstices, hence 365.2416 26 days. The slowdown compared to the current average duration is 365.24162426 minus 365.2235943 equals to 0.018031 days, or almost exactly 1,558 seconds. Now remember that the rate of deceleration of the Earth's rotation is 1.8 milliseconds per day every 100 years. This means that every 100 years, the duration of the tropical year increases by 0.0018 times 365.23 equals to 0.6574 seconds. Consequently, 1,558 seconds run over 2,369.94 centuries equals 236,994 years. Well, by a round count, about 237,000 years ago. Conclusions and discussion of the result. So the Cheops pyramid was erected 237,000 years ago. Note, however, that the accuracy of the proposed method depends very much on the accuracy of determining the initial lengths of the pyramid's bases, with an average base length of about 230.36 meters. An error of 0.5 centimeter changes the result of about 100,000 years. In most sources, according to the sizes of the pyramids, they are indicated with an accuracy of a centimeter. In Wikipedia article, Pyramid of Cheops is up to a millimeter. If we assume that the initial lengths are set with an accuracy of millimeters, then the error of our calculations would be about plus or minus 20,000 years. But rather, we should focus on the error of half a centimeter. So with an accuracy of determining the initial base length of half a centimeter, it is more correct to say that the pyramid was erected within 137 to 337,000 years ago. And this is provided with a deceleration of the Earth's rotation throughout all these hundreds of thousands of years, remaining equal to about 1.8 milliseconds per day per 100 years. However, this is the interesting result. This period in history of the Earth, 137,000 to 337,000 years ago, is the emergence of the Cro-Magnons and mitochondrial Eve in South Africa, and then about 100,000 years ago, their exit through the territory of present-day Egypt to Eurasia. In general, there is no doubt that the Cro-Magnons reached the territory of present-day Egypt from South Africa no later than the upper limit of the time of the pyramid erection, which we determined. If we take into account our assumptions that the Cro-Magnon were in fact the first Sumerians created by their masters Anunnaki to help in their work mining in South Africa, if we also take into this account, then we can put forward a version about the purpose of the creation of these pyramids, and that it was the Anunnaki who built them then. But what can the western and southern bases of the pyramid show? I suppose that a calculation similar to the one carried out in the article on the western base will show that the time of arrival of aliens on Earth, approximately 420,000 years BC, and on the southern base, the longest. The calculation will show a certain boundary in the future, which the creators of the pyramid considered important for the Earth, for humanity, or for their stay here. Throughout its existence, the pyramid has probably been overhauled and restored several times, and maybe more often, last time in the 3rd century millennium BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Cheops. This is on Solask. This is really, really fascinating. Fascinating stuff. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.